Chapter 20. Sharmelle arrived back in her room with a few moments to relax before the prayer call. She thought about calling her parents, but decided to wait for the official update from Lucian. "This is turning out to be a rough stretch for you, Deacon Hayes," she thought, "and depending on what I find out about your biological father, it may get rougher." Sharmelle took some time to pray, asking God for healing for First Lady Hayes, but also for wisdom and direction for whatever was ahead in the search for Marcus Pierce. When she logged on to Zoom, she was immediately glad she had convinced the late Pastor Henry Hayes to make the financial investment to make sure the church's Zoom account could handle an almost unlimited number of people for meetings, webinars, and the like. When she logged in 3 minutes before the scheduled time, there were already 300 people on the call. Sharmelle was wondering if other members of the church family were as nervous as she was, anxiously awaiting the update. As usual, Pastor McCurdy started the meeting on time. He got right to the point, for which Sharmelle was grateful, and was sure the hundreds of others were too. Lucian started his update by thanking all the church family members and friends throughout the community for praying and for reaching out with calls and text messages, which he said were too many to count. And then the encouraging news: his beloved mother, the church's beloved forever First Lady, had an angioplasty and was in recovery. The doctors were amazed at how well she did with the surgical procedure and were confident she would make a full recovery. There were universal cheers, applause, and shouts of "Thank you, Jesus" from the church members. Sharmelle could see the relief on Deacon Hayes' face, and even on Zoom, she could see how he was uplifted by his church family. They spent the next hour with various church members continuing to pray for First Lady Hayes and thanking God for what he'd already done. Sharmelle was especially touched that 2 members of her youth group offered their prayers as well during the call. As soon as it was over, she was getting text notifications, one after the other, first from her mother, then W2, a few other church members, and King Lee again. She'd figured she'd call her mother back first and get that over with. "The Lord has certainly heard our prayers as he always does," her mother said as soon as she answered the phone. "I'm so relieved, Mom. That's a very scary situation." "Yes, it is, and the timing is really something considering that you're in Detroit right now working on her secret case that you won't tell your dear mother about." "Thanks for the laugh, Mom, and no, I still won't tell you any details. So why don't we change the subject? How is Dad and how is Nancy Drew?" "They are both fine and seem to be enjoying each other's company." "Great. Well, I hope to be home in a few days. I'm getting an early start tomorrow, so give Dad a hug for me and have a good night." "Good night, my keeper of the secrets, daughter." "Mom, you really are too much. Good night, and I love you. Bye." By this time, Sharmelle felt mentally and emotionally spent. She texted W2 to let her know she'd catch up with her tomorrow and received a thumbs up and 3 hearts as a response. And just as she was about to put the phone on the nightstand beside her, another text message, another message from King Lee. "Hey, Shar, heard about First Lady Hayes. I know how close you two are. Just checking to see if you're doing okay. Anything I can do? Grandma told me she came through the surgery well, but will need some time for recovery. Check in when you can. I'm on my way to photograph some watermelons in Cordeal. Long story. LOL." Sharmelle felt a little guilty that she hadn't told King she was leaving town. Did he even know she was out of town, and where? And why was an international award-winning photographer taking pictures of watermelons? What did that have to do with South Georgia architecture or whatever his assignment was this time? At this point, thoughts about King Lee were a distraction. She had an evening plan to take a long hot shower, get her body next to those high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets, and get a good night's rest so she'd be ready to leap Ms. in the morning and start her ground search to find the elusive Marcus Pierce. And she did just that. She didn't remember waking up during the night and slept soundly until she heard the buzzing of her phone and watch alarms going off at the same time. She was forgoing her hour in the gym this morning, but otherwise stuck to her routine, morning prayers and devotionals, a few minutes of journaling, getting dressed, then ready to go. On the way to the hotel's restaurant for a light breakfast, she found a few funny cat videos to send to Nancy Drew through her mother's phone. After breakfast, she decided not to take her rental and opted for an Uber ride with a rather talkative driver who told her his life story in 10 minutes. Lifelong Detroiter, worked for 30 years on the assembly line at General Motors, retired when the last of his 4 kids graduated college, and drove Uber because his wife got tired of him lounging around the house with nothing to do. Sharmelle was trying to concentrate on her action plan for the day and was grateful to finally arrive at the doors of the Detroit Police Department. Liz was waiting for her with a Detroit PD mug of hot coffee and her famous bear hug. "I'm so glad to see you, Liz. I have lots to tell you about this case. The details you'll want and need to know." "That's good, because I've got some details for you too. Finding Mr. Pierce just got a lot easier."